welcome to the conversation, and thank you so much for joining us today. This is Conversations from the Diaspora with Love, and I'm your host and your sister and your friend, Nkiru. And today I'm joined by two friends of mine who happen to be sisters. Their names are Yar and Amek. And in today's episode, we're going to discuss what it means to find your voice as an African woman, as well as discuss some of the different societal pressures that we face as African women. So please stay tuned. And Amek, I know you wrote a piece recently for a Let's Talk Sis segment on your sister's platform, where you discussed, I guess, this conflict that we have as African women, where we are practically pressured into marriage. And if we aren't married by a certain age, despite any educational or career achievements, you're looked at as an incomplete woman. Can you share a little bit more about that and like why you wrote that and some other things that you talked about in that piece?
Yes. So I can't speak regarding my community, South Sudanese, but I think it's generally in Africa. So we are expected to be married at a certain age. It doesn't matter what kind of degrees you have, your career, and everything else you have accomplished. It's not really hold with that kind of high regard if you don't have a husband or if you're not going toward that direction. So I can't, maybe like the word belittle is going to be like a bit extreme, but that's how I feel. A lot of women who are maybe like the late 20s, early 30s, who are not married yet, but have their life together, are still considered incomplete. So with those kind of pressures, a lot of my African and my South Sudanese sister just feel that pressure that they just have to settle at a certain age. It doesn't matter with who. And I just feel like it's not fair. We just need to change that mentality. You don't have to be married. You don't have to have children to be respected in the community, because marriage is not for everyone. Kids are not for everyone. So if you choose to not go towards that path, it should totally be fine. So I think it's time for us to normalize being single and successful as something to celebrate. Like, people celebrate our weddings way more than our graduations. Like, I would have family members come from all over the place for my wedding. But then I have family members, they don't even like pick up the phone just to call me and say, congrats or whatever. So it's considered an achievement, but it's not as celebrated or given that regard, So I just feel like it's time for us to kind of change that because it just doesn't make sense.
That's interesting. Yeah, what do you think about that? Like, why do you, like, to Amek's last point about weddings being, I mean, obviously, of course, it's like a marrying of families, but why do you think the graduations and other achievements outside of, getting married isn't celebrated or looked at in the same way? Like, why is it almost like not taken as seriously, if I can say that? And what can we do in our generation to maybe change that a little bit? Like, how would that look for maybe your daughters when they grow up? How would that look?
Well, from like a South Sudanese point of view, I think it's because our culture, like, we focus like on marriages. Our communities are connected by marriages. We do dowry, we exchange cows.
Yeah,
it's like everything is connected to marriages. Everything is centered around like if you have a girl child, it's like you are going to be rich someday because someone is going to come and marry your daughter and it's going to bring you some cows, or you might end up being in-laws with a very rich family or people who have influence in the country.
Yes.
So they value a girl child, not like value, but they depend on the girl child just to like raise them from poverty or to just bring change into their families. So with us being not in the villages anymore. There's education. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. They are afraid that these things like education is going to make us abandon our culture. Like we're not going to be helping our families. You can literally run off, or you're not going to get married. So they kind of they try to suppress these things like education or just having a mind of your own, you know. I mean, can you believe like right now there are some South Sudanese brothers that are like educated, PhD, you name it, you know, but they will still go back home or to some refugee camps in East Africa to go marry girls that are like younger, less educated, because these are like the good girls. They're not God. Like us here in America, you know. Oh, so it's very complicated.
Since we can literally go on and on about that topic, and you know, we see it a lot, and this is not really what I, you know, wrote down in my notes, but since you brought it up, like I've seen that too so many times. You know, some of the guys here, you know, like you said, they come here for education, for exposure, and they get to live their lives, whatever that may mean to them. And then when it's time to settle down, you know, settling down for them means, like you said, going back home and finding a girl who is, hasn't been exposed to, you know, so-called Western culture or whatever education. Like, why is that? Do you think there's some type of power struggle? I mean, what could be part of the reason for that dynamic? Or I don't know.
I think go ahead. I think it has a lot to do with the culture. I don't know. Women are expected to be submissive, supposed to listen to your husband, and he's the head of the household. You still can have an opinion, but at the end of the day, what your husband says goes. So if you want to practice that with a girl or a woman who came here and went to school and just got exposed to different culture, it's going to be hard. So I think that could be one of the issues too. I don't know. And some of them just prefer younger girls, like teenagers or underage, 14, 16, 17. And you can do that here. So the only way to have what your heart desires is to go back home and get you a little girl as a wife.
And to just add, like, I mean, not all of them, but some of them, I feel like they intimidated, you know. They don't want a girl that's like equal, a girl that can talk to them about everything, a girl that can knows what's going on around the world. They want someone that they can manipulate, somebody that they can just control.
Exactly. And that's pretty disturbing. You know, and it's very unfortunate, even in this day and age, that some people think in that way. But do you think that things will change, like maybe with our generation or, you know, our children's generation? Like, you know, assuming that they're all, you know, born and brought up here? Or do you think this is just something that's just deeply ingrained in many of our cultures, you know, many of our African cultures?
I think it will definitely change. It's already changing. We have a lot of South Sudanese women now who are getting married outside the race or their ethnicity. Okay. And mostly look down on, like, if you marry like another African from somewhere else, let's say from Nigeria, Ghana, or whatever, Kenya, you always have that just, I don't know what the name for it, but you always have fingers pointed at you, you know. But it's definitely changing. People are just doing whatever they want to do now. Like, they're just following their hearts, and we're gonna see a lot of that in the future, I hope.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. It's unfortunate that when you try to do things a little bit differently, or like you said, Amek, following your heart, many people, you know, back home kind of see it as, I don't know, they're really deeply set in their way.
Not even just back home, here too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in our communities.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just to kind of switch gears a little bit, yeah, I remember seeing this post on your page, and I remember commenting on it, talking about the notion of a good wife. And I know you mentioned this just now. In the African cultural context, you know, a good wife is someone who stays at home, cooks, cleans, doesn't really talk much, takes care of children, et cetera, et cetera. Why all of these pressures?
It's just another way to keep women down. That's just another way of doing that. Because, I mean, like, as long as you're being respectful, like, you're not going there to bash people, you're not creating any problems, you're just speaking about social issues, normal issues that you care about, that shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. But I feel like they're just trying to put us in this little box where we can't say anything, we can't do anything, we have to look a certain way, we have to say certain things. It's just a way for them to continue to control women. I don't think there's anything else.
Exactly. But like, why is it like, for example, and I think I told you this as well, you know, prior to getting married, people would say, like, they would try to hook you up with, you know, their relatives, like, oh, you know, you're a good girl, you know, I know I like you because you don't talk a lot and stuff. Like, I don't see how or why that, you know, why is that a desired thing? I know you just pretty much said it's a way to control women, but it's like, how, so if the person talks a lot, if she's, you know, sociable, if she's, you know, likes to dress up or anything else, I don't know, outside of whatever they have in their minds, does that automatically make that woman a bad woman and not fit for marriage? Like, what's going on?
It's pretty much what you said, yeah. It's like sometimes, you know, so my husband is very cool, but sometimes he knows that other people will judge us. Mm-hmm. So when we go places, like I remember one time we were having this discussion and people were just saying ridiculous stuff, and he knows, you know, I would just put someone in their place or I would say something. So he was just like holding my hands, you know, just to just be cool, calm down, you know, because I mean, he's not really worried about what people would think.
Okay. But
I'm sure they will be like, oh, you know, she's wearing the pants. She's acting like she's the man. Like it's like when you talk or when you are someone like in the community, they just look at you as you're not feminine. You're not being like a real woman, like how our grandmothers were. Like,
oh my God.
Just like you're just trying to be something else, or you're Americanized. That's what they would say. Yeah.
Wow. Because I'm actually glad you brought that point up. There are like two words I feel like when African people use this to an African woman, if they call you Americanized or they call you a feminist, it's like they're using two curse words on you. I'm like,
pretty much.
What do you think? What do you think about that? Like, why is it that, you know, oh, you're too Americanized. Oh, you know, you just want to be a feminist. Like, why is that something that they look at as a negative thing?
I think they don't view it as the norm, because we are expected to act like our mothers and our grandmothers. We have to have a place. You don't just speak about everything you see. Sometimes you just have to be quiet and mind your business to not bring any trouble to your husband or your dad or your family in general, you know, because we have like a lot of issues on Facebook at South Sudanese. Let's say right now I can go to and post something that has nothing to do with anyone at all. And people will get offended. Somebody will get offended and call my uncle or my dad or my mom. Or I will just have my name there in the community. Oh, such and such daughter. She thinks she's, I don't know who she's trying to teach our girls how to do this or how not to listen to their dad, you know, things like that. So I guess that's something a lot of people are worried about, that speaking up can bring problems. And I don't know. What do you think? Yeah.
that's what it is pretty much. Like, I mean, people call my dad, like, even tell me that, oh, your daughter did this.
All the time.
So I have this Facebook group that's called Southsudanese Mommies. It's like a mom group where, you know, we share ideas. Sometimes people will post anonymous questions, and then the other members will like give their opinion, what they think. Sometimes they would share their relationship issues, their in-laws issues, or things like that. So someone went and told my uncle that, oh, your niece is acting like she's okay, I'm trying to find the word in English because they said it in Arabic. Like, they say that I was acting like I'm the Sultan. Okay. How can I put it?
Sounds like a tribal leader kind of
Tribal
thing.
leader, yes.
Okay.
Like they said that, oh, I'm doing this thing on Facebook where I tell people what to do and I'm corrupting women, you know. And
Oh my gosh.
my uncle literally sat me down and was telling me, you know, don't put yourself in problem. Don't bring problem to your husband. Don't bring us shame, you know. If you have any kind of activities like that, stop it, you know. And honestly, I wasn't doing anything to corrupt women or you know me. So it's just, I didn't understand, like, how did he know, or who told him, or who called him? It has to be a woman, because it's only women in the group. We don't have any men there.
Yeah. It's too much. And I think sometimes they just want us to be quiet too, not give advice. Let's say, for instance, I can have a friend that, or a cousin that is going through some things, like, let's say maybe she's getting abused or her husband is cheating on her or whatever. So my job as a cousin is to tell her, like, you know what, all men are the same. Just don't leave your husband, don't leave your home. Just, you know, be patient, things will change. These kind of things. But if I ever tell her, you know what, this is unacceptable, you need to speak to him, you need to probably ask him to leave the house, you need to do this or do that, go counseling, that is taking us bad advice. I'm trying to wreck her home, you know what I mean? So yeah, I guess they just want us to kind of be quiet, like not just say anything at all, like, you know, just blind eye and all that shit.
That's actually, you know, very disturbing to me as well. Like, why in the world would someone feel the need to call your parents now that, I mean, like, to report your every action on social media? Like, that's so embarrassing.
Social media, I know, but social media is something, it's very big for South Sudanese. I don't know about other African, but South Sudanese, Facebook, we have these people who just sit on Facebook Live for hours and hours, like 5 hours, fighting and everything. Like, they discuss almost everything on Facebook. So Facebook is a big platform. So whatever you say there or do, it's going to be all over the place. Like, all over the place, like, literally.
That's just so crazy to me. Because I know
It is. That's why I'm not in there anymore.
Yeah, like, one thing that you do that makes me laugh so hard, like, periodically you'll make a post to, I guess, trigger these people that like to report things. And it's like, the fact that she even has to say that, like, people have a lot of time on their hands, apparently.
Yeah.
They really do. And just to think about it, like, I'm a woman in my 30s, you know, I'm married.
Exactly.
I just don't understand, like, why would they think it's appropriate for them to just monitor what I do or to go report to my parents? Like,
yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, so just to kind of bring it back a little bit, kind of in that same conversation that we had, you know, regarding this whole notion of being a good woman and everything else, I remember mentioning to you, you know, at least from my perspective, and I'm sure you two can kind of share in the same sentiment, all of these, you know, so-called African aunties and uncles, they only respect you as a, quote, full woman once you get married. And something that I've also noticed as well, it's usually not because of you, but it's out of respect of your husband. Like, so they won't maybe ask or say certain things to you because they want to respect your husband, not necessarily you. Why is that? You know, either of you can respond to that.
It's a male culture. Like, African culture is dominated by men. You know, men are the one that put the rules. Men are the one that tell you what to do. So they're always going to be up there. Like, you know, your husband is going to be looked at as like the person they will go to if there's anything. You are there, but it's, you know, before you get married, you are such and such daughter.
Exactly.
That's what you are. Then you get married, you are such and such wife. You are never an individual. You know, it's always about that male in your life, that man in your life, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think it's, you are seeing as an honorable woman, the fact that you got married. So you get that respect. You know, you didn't run away. You didn't bring shame to your family. You didn't do this or that. So now that you are married, you get that extra respect. You know? Yeah, I think I don't know why, but it's ridiculous.
Now, ladies, excuse me, in your culture, like if I'm to address Yara, for example, would I call you Mama Achol? Like, would I call you by your child's name, or would I call you like by your husband's name? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, how would someone, like, let's say back home, for example, or someone in your community, how would they address you? Would they call you Yar, or would they call you Mama, you know, this, or would they call you wife of, you know, how would they address you?
Well, before kids, of course, you know, Madud's wife. Now that I have a daughter, Achol, so Mama Achol or Mama Dior or Mana Dior in Dinka, but a lot of people say Mama Achol.
Huh. Interesting. I wonder if that's kind of across, you know, many of the countries on the continent. Because I know you two are well traveled. Have you seen that in other cultures as well, or is that just kind of happens by chance, I guess, depending on where you are?
It is actually in other cultures, especially like in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Because women are kind of like, they shouldn't be like in public. Like some people wouldn't even tell you their mom name.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you don't. My mother is just like you don't even. Okay, they like to protect their women. Okay. So you would never say like your mom name just to random strangers. So, so for that woman not to be called by her name or people not to know her name, everybody's in the neighborhood is going to either call her auntie or such and such mom.
Yeah. I think, mothers and not sister, but mostly mother's name are scars. Like, so you just don't tell anyone that, hey, my mom name is this, especially in Middle Eastern countries and Muslim in general. So your mom will be called after your older brother or your older sister, like the firstborn. Yeah. And let's say if she goes to Hajj, like Mecca, and come back, then they're gonna start calling her Hajja, and instead of like calling her such mom, you know.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I think just like a sign of respect.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective. I was gonna ask more about that because Yara, I think you mentioned about how they respect women, but I just find it a little bit ironic, you know, the respect for women is in that regard, but then for other things, the respect is not, not always there. But that's a different conversation that we could definitely kind of go on and on about.
I wouldn't even call it respect, actually. It's not respect, but it's like, it's kind of like you don't want to bring shame to your family. It's like women are something sacred, something that shouldn't just be seen or talked about by everybody, you know? So it's not just respect. It's something like you don't want to bring shame to your family. Yeah. Or something like that, you know? So it's not always respect, but there is some respect there too.
So I'm curious, how about for the men? Like, are they called, kind of the same way, the father of this child or the husband to this woman, or how are they addressed?
They are addressed by their kids, but when it comes to men, I feel like it's more about a sign of respect, you know. Like I remember growing up in Khartoum, like there's a lot of people I didn't even know their names. You know, if their kids were not in school with me, I wouldn't know their name because we'll call them like uncle, auntie, you know.
Exactly.
You never really call people by their names,
Yeah,
especially if they're older.
Yeah, I know.
Every adult's an aunt or an uncle.
Actually, ladies, I'm so happy that you mentioned that because let's just address that quickly before I go to the next point. You know, I know we've kind of seen a lot of crazy things at the hands of our quote aunties and uncles, you know, in the African context. You know, for you raising your children, let me see how I can phrase this. How important is it to you or for you for them to refer to their elders as auntie and uncle? Are you going to have some type of limit when it comes to that? Or how are you going to address that, you know, with your children when they grow up? And like, what do you think about that?
I think I'm going to have some limits. Like if they're like my close friends, personal friends,
yeah,
they are allowed to call them aunties and uncles, like depending on what the relationship is like between me and those people.
Okay.
If they're like not too close to me or just I don't really know them that well, then I'm gonna introduce them to like Mrs. or Mr., you know, other titles.
Yeah. How do you think they're going to see that? Well, I guess they'll be calling the older generation might not be. It'll be more of, I guess, maybe our people and maybe people a little bit older than us. So I don't know if they might not care as much, maybe compared to our elders of nowadays. Or what do you think, Amek? What do you think about that topic?
Yeah, I think it's going to be normal by that time because if I'm expecting my future children to call adults aunties and uncles, it's just going to be weird to them. Oh, but he's not my uncle, you know? So instead of like going through all that, I think people who are not like really close to me and just to kind of show them that you still have to give that respect to somebody who's way older than you.
Yeah.
So I would prefer them like using sir or whatever title they have, doctor or whatever, you know?
Okay.
But not like just their first names. I probably wouldn't. Yeah.
And just that actually is the perfect kind of segue to the next point. You know, growing up, and again, I know you two can probably share in this sentiment as well. I've always like felt the need to be this, you know, respectable child to my elders. And unfortunately, that oftentimes means not having an opinion or a voice in certain matters, even those that affect you personally as an individual. Like my wedding, for example, and Yara, I think I told you about this recently, and probably you too, Amek. You know, this is still like a sore spot for my husband and I because many of the things that we wanted to do or we had planned to do, you know, on our wedding day either got changed or canceled at the last minute without our approval, or we weren't allowed to do, you know, some of the things due to whatever rules or regulations that we had to abide by. Can you ladies share your experience on that? You know, about, I guess, the elders, aunties and uncles and whatever else, I guess, not getting a chance to express yourself and maybe not really taking advantage of, but like taking control over certain things that you as a mature adult can handle by yourselves, you know, consider like the wedding, like your weddings, for example.
So for my wedding, since it was just like last year, I always had this in my mind. I wanted to have a very small wedding. I wanted to have my close friends and family only. I didn't want to have just random people and just, you know, I just wanted to have like an intimate wedding where everybody's, you know one another, or I look around the room and I know everyone. Yeah. You know, but that I couldn't even bring it to my parents because they were probably going to lose their mind. Like, no, there's no way. So I had to get my venue. I had to get a place that accommodates 400 people.
Wow.
You know, and imagine, I'm sure, I don't know, for people, me and my husband, we don't know 400 people. Yeah, but it's just the culture pressure. You know, we have to, it's like it's pretty much we're getting married to make other people happy, like to make my parents and my uncles and my aunties happy, not to make myself happy, because this was for me. I wanted just to have a small wedding, like by the beach or something. Yeah, but I couldn't do that because I had this expectation and I didn't want to like let anyone down.
Yeah.
So I had to sacrifice my own happiness for their happiness. But it just, I don't know, it's something we just have to do.
What about you?
It's funny.
It's pretty much the same, you know. So I found this really nice venue. It takes about 150 seated, and I think 180, like
Standing.
180 standing, something like that. So I went and saw that venue, and I fell in love with it. And I came home, and I was like, "Oh, I found that place." And I was telling my mom. The first thing she asked, "How many people?" So I went and like 100. So when I told her 150, she was like, well, 150, like, even if I just, you know, my own family or such and such. And for my wedding, people came as far as Australia. So just imagine that, you know. So she was like, no, you know, your in-laws, like, let's say, so we're allowed to have 75 people from our side. And then your in-laws are going to have 75 from their side. Like, who am I going to invite? Am I not going to invite these people? Like, she was just pressuring me. And I just felt bad, you know.
Yeah.
This is your wedding. You only get married once in a lifetime. You know, all that pressure.
Exactly.
And I ended up like just changing my whole plan. And I went and found another venue to accommodate more people. Oh, and I wanted to say no children allowed at the reception.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say something.
They were like,
that.
no. They were like, they were losing their mind. You know, I was getting calls from aunties and people that I don't even know. They were just calling me because my mom would act like she's stressed out, you know, like my daughter said this or something, you know, so those aunties will just come and call me. No, you can't do that. This is a blessing. You have to allow children. So I ended up getting a big venue and they had like a section for children and I hired 2 babysitters. Still, it didn't work. People were like running around my dance floor and I'm one of these people like, you know, my eyes will give it away. So like if you look at my wedding video, like I'm just having these looks, like you could tell that something's going on. I can't hide my facial expression. So
yeah,
it's just, and then everything was so long, like it's not even my program, but some aunties want to come and sing a song of praise or dance or this, you know.
Oh my God.
Or such and such wanted to say a word of encouragement.
Yeah.
Like my wedding
she knows. You witnessed all that at my wedding, Instagram.
Yeah, I know. So the wedding basically was like an all day thing, you know, like a whole day event.
Yeah, I know. It's so crazy because like this should be, you know, as everyone always says, like the happiest day of your life. And of course it is a happy day, but it's just like some of these simple requests that you have or that you ask for, like just for someone to come and turn it all around, and then you can't really do much about it in that moment because you're the celebrant. And if you try to, because you're not the one who's organizing at that point, you just have to like deal with it. So it's just like a painful thing to kind of go through. And I agree with you, Yar, like just looking at your wedding pictures or the wedding video especially, and like replaying those things in your head, like, oh my gosh, I wish these people didn't do that.
Another thing to add to, so for us South Sudanese, you're not supposed to be too hyper. Like you're not supposed to show a lot of emotions with your wedding. You're supposed to act shy. You can dance like, you know, it's your wedding. And then what really breaks my heart, your mother is not supposed to say a word. She's not supposed to show her. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's, you're the one, like, right?
Yeah. Like your, like
so
the mother of the bride.
Not allowed to there's this thing, like, when you're happy at the wedding, you're supposed to be like, oh, you know what I'm talking about, right? So my mom can do that because it's an embarrassment. It's her daughter's wedding. She's supposed to be sitting quiet, just saying hello to people, and that's it. She cannot do anything at all.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But
it's a different story. If it's her son's wedding, it's a different story.
Oh yeah, no, her son's wedding, she's supposed to just be all over the place, scream and act crazy and all that. Like her daughter's wedding, she's supposed to act shy and just sit down and not say anything at all. Not even dance. She can go to the dance floor, but not dance. Just kind of like, you know. go and like probably just move like a little bit, just kind of, but nothing extreme. So yeah.
Well, can you put that into perspective, I guess, for our listeners? Like, why exactly? Like, what's the difference for the daughter's wedding and then the son's wedding? Is it like, this is her pride, so she's trying to like protect it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Why?
No, it's like basically like you're going to a different family, So I don't want to say like you're the follower, but it's basically like you're being joined to a different family. So you have to show them that like you're a good mother-in-law, you're not a troublemaker, like you just that, because basically the way your mom carry herself says a lot about who you are. So basically your mom has to be like that sweet, quiet woman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then and another thing also in our culture is there's like a different day, a special day when your mom is welcomed into your new family. So she's gonna get like another event where like a party where she can invite her 8 maids and people, and then your husband is gonna bring her like a gift or something. That day she would be like officially welcome,
part of the family. Okay.
And part of the family. So then she can relax a little bit, I think.
Or she can eat. So at my wedding, my mom couldn't eat. Like she couldn't have dinner or water or anything because they still didn't have that celebration. So out of respect, she couldn't eat my husband's money yet. You know what I mean? Like an African way. Yeah. It's too extreme.
We as women always have to. There's so many limitations sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, just I guess to kind of on that same topic or that same notion, I think this is the reason why I felt we should have this conversation, on finding your voice as an African woman. What does that mean to you and how do you find it?
Just stand for what I believe in. Not get intimidated by what others, because people will always talk, So I think it's very important for us, this generation and generations to come, to show women standing up for what you believe in and standing up for yourself and for the values and the principles that make sense in your life. It's totally normal. It's totally fine, Chase your dreams and just do what you need to do to be happy, because you live for you. You can't always live for other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, how would you say that you have fully found your voice as an African woman, and how long do you think it took you to get to this place? And are you still kind of gradually getting there, or have you fully arrived?
I'm still getting there. I have not. I'm probably not even. I'm probably like halfway now. But no, I can't say that I'm already there. There's a lot of things, as we were just talking, marriages and a lot of other things are still. We still don't have like a voice when it comes to those kind of things. So I just feel like that needs to be changed. Yes. Like for me, I didn't want my husband to pay any dowry or anything to my family, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I couldn't get that. I couldn't even like mention it. So for me not to be able to speak on something very important like this,
exactly,
it's not okay. So I feel like we still need to fight and push and just, show our family, like our older generation, that it's totally fine to be your own self and still be respectful and be a good girl, quote. Yeah.
Now, Amek, I'm going to come back to you on that note. But Yar, just to kind of ask you the same question, what does it mean to find your voice as an African woman? And have you personally found it? And kind of on the same note as well, have you fully found it, or are you still gradually, getting there?
I think I'm getting there. This is like, I'm not proud to say this, but I felt kind of liberated a little bit that now I'm married and I'm a mom,
Yeah.
people are not as critical as they were when I was unmarried or when I was just a young girl.
Okay.
So now I feel like they're a little bit, and to get back to your point, they have some respect for my husband, you know?
Exactly.
So now I feel like I'm being judged, but I feel like it's a little less than before. And also getting older, you know, having my own daughter.
Exactly.
It's pushing me to do better, like to fix things for her.
Okay. So like, what is your voice as an African woman? Like, how does that look like? What does that mean to you?
To me, it's just that being an individual, being who I am.
Okay.
I don't want to, like, there's a lot of stereotypes about South Sudanese women. Like, some people, like, when I tell them like, I'm South Sudanese or I'm an engineer or something, they were like, what? Because a lot of people think South Sudanese women are like either submissive housewives or they're models, you know?
Oh, yeah.
They don't think that we have other profession. We have like activists. We have all these other things that do in life. They don't look at us that way. So I just feel like I have to be myself. I have to show them like that I'm South Sudanese, but I'm also different, you know, and differences and diversity is what makes us more unique.
Exactly. Now, ladies, to kind of go back to what Amek just said previously, you know, for the next generation, you know, for your children, our children, and then, you know, the ones that will come after them, how do we make some of these changes, like as it relates to some of these cultural things? And actually, ladies, there's something funny that I saw, you know, on social media recently. Someone said that culture and tradition is, I don't know exactly how they phrased it, but they said culture and tradition is really a bunch of dead people bullying you. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but it's like all of these things, a lot of these things that we follow, it's like weird pressures from people who are no longer here, you know, from our great-great-grandparents and other people like that who kind of set these things, but yet we're forced to follow it despite the fact that our world is changing. So how can we, in our own way, you know, change or make some of these changes, you know, like I said, for our next generation? How will that look and how can that happen? What will it take?
For me, I really think like gender roles in South Sudanese community and probably Africa in general has a lot to do with everything, all the expectations that they have from women. So I think by us like redefining gender roles, just let our younger generation, the boys and girls, know that, you know, traditional roles are just things just there. You know, you take them if they make sense to you. If they don't make sense to you, don't ever feel the pressure to just go with the flow, you know? So just because you're a girl, you're not a caretaker. Just because you are a boy, you're not the provider. So we have to kind of just normalize these things, that you just be who you want to be. Don't feel that you need to do things just because this is the way they were done before you, like your mom or your grandmother, because you are not your mom, you're not your grandmother, and vice versa. I think that will help a lot.
Very good point. What about you, Yarn? Do you kind of share the same sentiment?
Yeah, kind of. And also, like I think I want to show them that it's okay to be different. I mean, you don't have to fit in a certain box. Like, I don't know if you follow my page. Like, I shared this story of a South Sudanese lady. She's an anesthesiologist, and she has a page where she does South Sudanese recipes, those kind of things. Right. To a lot of South Sudanese, I mean, you would be surprised. A lot of South Sudanese think that those girls with degrees, they don't know how to cook. So I felt the need to highlight the fact that this lady, she knows how, you know, she's educated, has all those degrees, but she knows how to cook. I mean, and do all those. Like, basically, just, you are not supposed to just be one thing. You can be so many things.
Yes.
And that's okay.
That was a very powerful point, sis. And actually, I'm definitely going to give you a chance to like talk more about your platform, the Women of the Sudans. But I just wanted to get this point off really quickly before we go into that, because we've just been talking about this pretty much the whole conversation. I feel like we as African women, our lives are never really for ourselves. I think Amek, you mentioned this earlier. Everything is kind of expected to happen on everyone else's timeline. And your needs and your hopes and desires, they're kind of like an afterthought. And, especially as it relates to like a woman's timeline, immediately after a wedding, people start asking and looking to see if you're pregnant. And if you're not, by the time they begin to speculate, like, why is it that everything about us has to be dictated by other people? Like, y'all share about your experiences with that?
I mean, y'all can speak on that because she was getting a lot of talk.
Yeah, they just think, because, back to the culture. So back home in South Sudan, when you're married, you don't just get married to come and, enjoy your husband or enjoy your time. You get married to come and bring children to the family. You need to, that money or those cows that were wasted on you to bring you, you have to kind of almost replace those or work for them. So you have to give birth to as many children as you can. So when you don't get pregnant within the first year, they look at you like, okay, what's going on? The second year, then they start to literally call you and ask you, or come to your house and let you, and say, oh, we have a meeting. Like, they love meetings. Everything is a meeting. Like,
oh my gosh.
And then they would sit and talk, okay, what's going on? You know what? We are not Americans.
Oh my gosh.
You have to have children. And, as a woman, your time and, your biological clock, all those stuff. And it's just something personal. Like, I wouldn't ask anybody, like, why aren't you having kids? Like, sometimes people have struggles, there's a lot of stuff happening, miscarriages, a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't look at it that way. They just feel like they're entitled to just ask any question or to just say anything just because they're older, just because they're like your relatives or your community,
Yeah. And I'm actually glad that you brought that up, sis, because it's like the fact that you feel that you have so much authority in my life to literally come to my house or my family home or whatever and have a meeting and say that we're not Americans, which I'm not sure how that relates to anything. But ladies, like, when it comes to some of these perspectives that we have, as you just mentioned, you definitely would never, you personally wouldn't even feel comfortable asking someone that. Do you think that the way that we viewed some of these things, is it because we grew up or spent a good part of our lives here and somehow are adapting to culture, whatever that may mean? Or is it something that you personally, you feel like this is just something that you just draw the line at? Like, how do you, or what do you think about that? Is it because of your exposure to life, here or in different parts of the world that's kind of changed your worldview on some of these things? Or would you say it's you personally, or what do you think, ladies?
I think it's exposure, and also, like, sometimes I imagine myself, like, how would I feel, if somebody's asking me those questions or somebody intruding that much in my life, how would I feel? So if I'm going to be uncomfortable, why would I put somebody in that situation,
Exactly. Yeah. It's just weird. What about you, Amek? What do you think about that?
I just feel like it's crossing the line.
Yeah.
Certain things are just, I don't know, they are supposed to be private.
Mm-hmm.
And you are not my husband.
Exactly.
Or my mother. Like, maybe my mother can ask me just to kind of make sure that everything is okay.
Yeah.
Out of like good intention.
Exactly.
But other than that, I don't think that should be anyone's business. So I think we're supposed to be firm and just kind of put people in their place, like in their places whenever they cross that line.
Yeah.
Just kind of I think it will become like people will learn how to not ask this kind of question again if we start telling them, no, why are you asking me this, but us as like South Sudanese women, we always want to be nice. We always want to give an explanation just to kind of, especially like if the person is older.
Yeah.
So out of respect, we will explain ourselves for whatever reason. Yeah, but I just feel like it shouldn't be okay. Like if somebody calls and asks you things that you're not ready to talk about with them or discuss, then just tell them, I'm sorry, this is none of your business. Please don't ask me that again. Seriously. And I know they will be mad and probably call your parents. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let them,
So ladies, like, have you, did your parents ever kind of nudge you in this direction? Like, hey, when are the grandkids coming? Like, has that been your experience, or is it mainly outsiders who are asking you or who asked you these questions?
My dad asked me jokingly, though.
Oh, okay.
He asked me, like last month or so, but it wasn't like a serious tone. It was just, but I don't think, my parents are more chill.
Nice.
They probably will start calling and asking if they're getting pressure from other people.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But out of them, they trust us and they know that we know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because if I was able to get to this stage and accomplish other things, I guess they can put trust in me that I know my plans and I know when I'm going to have, when I'm going to start a family and all that. So they just kind of relax. Yeah, but usually, like, the other family member probably will call and ask them, what's going on with your daughter? We still haven't heard anything or seen anything. Is she okay? Is she sick? Yeah.
The funny thing is, are they going to, like, babysit your children when they come? Like,
exactly. That's what I want to know. Are they gonna help me financially? Are they gonna come and babysit? Are they gonna help me emotionally? Are they gonna be there? No. Yeah. Just, I don't know. Crazy.
Oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure, like, if you tell them, hi, auntie, uncle, your baby's here. Can you come watch them for the weekend?
You're like, what? What were you talking about?
Where are you going?
Exactly.
As a mother, you shouldn't even be leaving your house. You shouldn't be even having a weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's crazy.
That's very funny. So, let me see. That's something I was going to ask, I guess, kind of on that same topic, but it was just too funny. Okay. So, how do you think they what happened? How do you think they would respond if you were to say something like, oh, auntie, uncle, we just want to take 2 or 3 years off to enjoy ourselves before having children? How would they respond to that?
Somebody can pass out or
probably,
something.
And I'm actually not exaggerating. They probably act like they pass out.
They will act like they're just fainting or something's happening to them.
Yeah.
That's so dramatic. Like
they are. Yeah. They will. First of all, they will ask you, enjoy what? What does that even mean?
Oh my gosh.
They will want you to explain a lot of things because for us, you get married to have babies.
Yeah, I know.
You don't get married to come and just chill and take your time.
And you know what? It's not just about like your family, being all up in your business, because
your husband family.
Your husband family is going to come to them and say something and think something is wrong, whatever's going on. So they want to avoid all those stuff since they receive the cows, So they want to make sure everything is in line, everything's in order. So I think that's what kind of gives them the pressure to go ahead and pressure you.
I know. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So Yara, could you, tell our listeners more about, why you started the Women of the Sudans and why is it important for women and, in this case, African women, for us to have like a safe space to talk about different things where we normally, like you said, probably won't talk about it on your public platform, but in a group or like maybe a page like yours, they feel like they can freely talk about some of these things. Why was that important for you to create that page, and tell us more about, what it's all about?
Okay, so first I created a group. So the group is more private. It's only like posts and everything is viewable only by members of the group. So we created that. Actually, it's going to be 1 year on the 16th. I created last June. So when I became a mom, there's a lot of stuff that people didn't talk about, like postpartum depression, like mood swings, those kind of stuff. Like I never heard my mom or all those aunties that were pressuring me to have babies. I never heard anybody telling me that I'm going to experience something or I'm going to feel like some changes. I never knew any of those things. I mean, you would expect to know since they're all up in your business telling you what to do, but they never really tell me anything about what to expect when the baby comes. So I joined other like Facebook groups, and I just felt like I would be, there would be a lot of other South Sudanese women that feel the same way, that they don't know much about, what's happening and all that, or what it will happen when you become a mom or something like that. So I was like, okay, let's just create that. And then there's going to be like moms that are like a little older, but more educated, more open-minded than the aunties and community people. So I created that, and then people come together. Like, I would just ask, hey, like my baby doesn't sleep at night or something. What are some remedies? Like, or, I'm feeling like, this way. Like, is it normal? Should I call my doctor? Is it normal to feel a little sad? Or when is it too much? When do I need to get help? Things like that. Because if I ask like an auntie, like, and tell her, like, okay, I'm feeling the blues, I'm not feeling okay, they would just tell me that I have nothing to, there's no reason to feel that way. You just had a baby. You are just blessed. Like, you shouldn't be ungrateful, And instead of them helping me, they will almost kind of scold me,
Exactly.
I would get scolded. So that's why I felt like I need to get like-minded people.
Yes.
And then when the group kind of became more successful, and I'm meeting a lot of wonderful, amazing women, I was like, you know what? Maybe we need to expand this a little bit. Maybe we need to show other people what all these amazing South Sudanese women are doing, So then I went to the page, because the page is going to be more public. And then the reason I named it the Women of the Sudan is because, as everybody knows, like now Sudan and South Sudan are two different countries.
Yes.
And Sudan, like some of them identify as Arab, which is ridiculous. But we have people of the Nuba Mountains. They are still part of Sudan. Those people are like some of them are Christian. Some, they're dark skinned like us. So I felt like and there was a lot of them in my group. So if I just name it South Sudan, it's going to lead them out.
Yeah.
So I just called it the Sudans, just to include those women. And to go back to that point of those stereotypes or things that people expect about South Sudanese women, I wanted people to know that we're not just like, we're not like same. All of us are not the same. We're different. Like, we have different profession. We're just like normal people. I just wanted to show people that's what we are.
I think that's very powerful. Like I said, I think for, we as African women, we need to have these types of conversations, because even though obviously we're from different parts of the continent and different countries and different, ethnic cultures and all these other things, there's so many things that we share in common. And a lot of that is in our experience as African women. So that's why I really wanted to, talk to both of you, because you definitely have an interesting perspective and you kept me laughing the whole time. Now, ladies, normally in the last few minutes of the recording, I like to give my guests a chance to kind of share with listeners anything that they're working on that they would like for, maybe if anyone wants to follow you or get in contact with you, or, if there's any project that you're doing that you would like for them to know about. Would you like to just share anything that you're working on and anything like that? Or just any words of encouragement, final thoughts to our listeners?
I'll let Amek go.
Okay. So I'm not very active on social media at the moment. I'm working on my PhD. I just started my literature review. And as you can imagine, a lot of writing, a lot of reading. So, yeah. But with everything that's going on right now, we just have to be strong and have that unity. Just look at us as Black. Black life matters. We don't need that separation. No, I'm not African American, I'm African, or no, I'm not this, I'm that, because in their eyes, we are all Black.
Yes.
So we always have to remember that.
Thank you, sis. What about you, Yar?
For me, I just want to encourage women to take charge, change our future. Let's do better for our children. Let's do better for the next generations and just go from there. Because nobody's going to come and change our lives. Nobody's going to come and make this world a better place for the next generation. So you have to do your part and I will do my part.
That's very beautiful. Oh, and so ladies, before we go, Yar, did you want to drop the social media handle on Instagram and Facebook, right?
Yes. So Facebook, it's going to be the Women of the Sudans with an S at the end. And on Facebook, it's also going to be the same thing. Or you can follow at Yara_B_B at YaraBB.
Thank
on
you.
Instagram.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, ladies, so much. Any other thoughts before we close?
Thank you for having us in Cairo. That was such a nice conversation. It's really needed.
Thank you so much.
More.
Yes.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah.
Ladies, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to share with us, and I really appreciate it. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies.
Yeah. Bye. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.